Yeah, guys, we're rolling 169. Cheers. So, man, I had a wild dream last night. It was crazy. It's one of those SWAT team tried to break in, take my animals, and accuse me of assault, and they're trying to arrest me. And that is a quick summary of that dream. And it's funny, these dreams, I never can throw a punch. My guns don't work, and neither their guns didn't work either, which was very interesting. But, yeah, it was one of those dreams, man. And you wake up like, what the hell was that? What the hell? You know what I mean? It takes you a while to get over it. Because it does show you that these things have happened, these wrongful, arrests. Okay, wrongful arrests, but, some of it where they break into the wrong house and a wrong search warrant, that has happened. It's pretty wild. And they do take your animals and your kids and everything. That's kind of scary if you really think about it. It is possible. Those things can happen. It's weird. You don't want whatever police or government breaking into your home. Anyways, it's one of those weird dreams I had. It was wild, man. It takes you a while to get over it. Then you got to get up and go to work. You're like, oh shit, I got stuff to do today. Still got this in my head. It's always those weird dreams where someone takes a loved one or something like that. Or like those dumb movies Taken. Do people like those movies? I always find them, it's like Taken 3. It's like, again? Jesus Christ. Again? Then again, I haven't seen the first one, but, maybe I ought to give them a watch before I talk crap about it. Notice I'm not cursing. I'm going to try not to curse for the first 7 minutes so we don't get quote-unquote demonetized. Apparently, they're really cracking down on curse words in the first 7 minutes of your show. Very, very interesting. But, at the same time, there's people saying wilder stuff than the old F word, Isn't that weird? It's weird, like, in a society where just a few years ago a word was okay, and then all of a sudden not, right? And it plants it in your head. You watch like an old movie, like I love just old say Rodney Dangerfield movies, old Rodney Dangerfield movies, and they use a lot of words that people be like, oh he's terrible. Oh, he's this, he's that. He's an ist, something ist, right? That is it's a weird weapon they're using to call somebody, a sexist or a racist or any of these ists. It's a fun weapon. Although I've been called all those things, whether they're not true, but I've been called all those things, and that does not bother me in the slightest. Slightest. That does not bother me, because usually the people that are calling you that, I don't really like anyways, or you can always tell, you can always tell. They always got they got wild problems of their own, and I'm not saying I don't have my problems, you know what I mean? I got mine, but I'm definitely not attacking somebody because I was offended. You know what I mean? Like if you offend me, I'll tell you, but I'm not going to post it on a social media. I'm going to, I'll tell you to your face. You'll be hearing from me, and that's okay. That's part of life. Imagine if just a lot of these guys, social media just changed the game for everything, right? For sports, music, any sort of art. Like, I wonder where, like a band like Pantera would be if they started now. Marilyn Manson, if he started now. Tupac Shakur. I'm just trying to use other music for you, because I don't listen to Tupac. Although if I did listen to rap, I think that would be my favorite. But I got to be honest, rap and hip-hop is up there with my least favorite. It's up there with techno, anything digital that any kid can do in their bedroom bothers me. And also, I think fakeness bothers me. As fake as I understand art is subjective, and even artists like a Johnny Cash. Who doesn't like Johnny Cash? He writes a Folsom Prison Blues. He wasn't in prison, but that's okay. You can still write a story. I get it, but we have to believe you. That's the whole idea. And man, when I hear almost every rap or hip hop piece of music, I go, well, that's the fakest man alive. You're full of shit. And especially, because this music's crammed in your ears. If you take an Uber, or you take a subway, or you're in the gym, it's all hip hop. They never play rock music or anything like that. When they do it, every once in a while they'll play something lame. But it's definitely some lame ass hip hop record where it's all their voices sound mechanical. Everything's mechanical. It's all full of shit. And is that 7 minutes young? I have to bleep that one. But they're fake. I got to tell you, I'm not saying I'm going to say 98% of rap and hip hop artists are pretty fake as hell. You're a fraud. You just are. You're a fraud. And I'm very open about that. I think you're all fraud. Write something real. Write something real. I don't even care about the instrumentation. You know me. I like guitars and bass and drums. I like people that play the music, not mechanical situations and samples, things you steal from other people. But I guess you can make the argument like all music is stolen, but that always pisses me off too. When you go, when you're like, well, Elvis stole that from the black man. Well, hold on. You can't really think about this. What music is sounds. It's a sound that, like, say, if I strum the guitar, those are strings that go against a hollow wooden body onto acoustic guitar and make this sound, make this chord, makes this note. But it's a sound that can be made on earth. I didn't invent that sound. The guitar, it's just that guitar was made wood. It's a sound. We all have ears. I don't think, hey, I invented this. I don't know if you invented it, but maybe you could be the first to bring it to people's ears. First to bring it to people's ears. That's fine. Be like, hey, I beat you to it. I beat you to it. But anytime like Elvis or any of these other guys, they start getting, oh, you stole these guys' music. You stole this, stole that. Shut up. Where'd you get it from? Where'd you get it from? You heard it somewhere. Maybe you don't know it, but you did. Like sometimes it is true though. Sometimes I'll come up with something and I go, man, that feels like I just grabbed that out of thin air. I'm sure it's an accumulation of other things that are heard. It's hard to invent something incredibly new that hasn't been invented. You may have just brought it to the forefront. You may have just been able to bring it to the forefront. So shut up about it. I don't want to hear that anymore. You invented that. Shut up. You invented that sound. You can't invent sounds. Sounds have already been here. They've always been here. You can just strum it better or do it better maybe. It's like where people are always like, I can play what Johnny Cash plays. Well, yeah, you can, but it still's not Johnny Cash. You can play the exact same notes. Everything can be the same. You can even change your voice to sound like him, like Joaquin Phoenix, which Joaquin Phoenix did a great job in that movie, but still not Johnny Cash, right? You didn't live that life. You didn't live the life. You didn't. It is what it is. But going back to what I said, man, I think rap and hip hop. I think you guys are frauds, and I believe, and I got friends in that world. I've been running studios my whole life. I've recorded hip hop artists and all that. A lot of it sounds fake as hell to me. Now, when you're being real, see, I don't even care what kind of music it is. If I feel you, I feel you. You know what I mean? If they feel, and I can't get mad at you. If you're selling records and you're becoming popular and they feel you, I'm not mad at you. Not mad at you. No way. It's cool. you know? But you're not fooling me. I'm not fooled. All the bullshit. I mean, what the internet does allow you to do is be pretty fake and hide behind the keyboard. Hide behind the camera and editing and all that stuff. Rather than big stage performances can do that too. But I implore you to try to be as authentic as possible, and I think people love that. I think that's what really sells on a lot of artists and like comedians too. Where it's like, if the story feels real, that's what makes it funny. If he's full of shit, like at the end you go, well, you're just telling a joke. I know that, but you got to make it feel authentic at least. That's the point, and that brings me to comedians too. When I hear comedians talking about music, it drives me nuts because I'm going to say something. Most of you comedians and my comedian friends out there, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about when it comes to any sort of music. And when I start hearing you spout off against like hard rock and punk rock music and stuff, it does make me want to give you a smack. Because, boy, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's okay. It's all right. But it's funny, the whole comedian world out there now is it's getting wildly successful, which is cool. I mean, it's pretty cool. Because I love comedy. Who doesn't? Who doesn't like to laugh? Who's those people who's like, I don't want to laugh. I don't want to go to a show and laugh. I don't want to do that. But it's the comedy world. It's funny where newspapers are kind of coming down on. I like how I said newspapers. Whatever, news articles are coming down on some of these big comics for a joke they told. It's called a joke. Also, you don't have to listen. And also, it's like they're supposed to be comedians. Why are we taking them serious? They're clowns. They're supposed to amuse you. And that's what they want. They want to amuse you. That's the whole idea. They're not up there to kill you. So shut up about it. It's weird. Like, when do you become that guy? When do you become that guy that's sending emails and posts about how you were offended? How your wife was offended. When do you become that guy? Let's talk that. When do you become that guy where you're like, my wife was offended? Like I remember a long time ago, back in, I think I was in my 20s or something, we were throwing a party, and one of the neighbors down the street was like, my wife has a real problem with this. And I immediately called him on it. I go, your wife? You had to say your wife because you didn't have the balls to say you? I think that's funny. But it is funny where it's like, you're using your wife. I need to stand up for my wife. It doesn't work with girlfriend. I need to stand up for my girlfriend. I need to stand. The word wife is just good. You've upset my wife. That's funny. I mean, it works. But it is weird. Like, when do you become that guy that's like let's talk about comedy shows, because I've been to plenty of comedy shows. I love them. But it is funny where, say, there's a couple there, and they get drunk or something, and the wife is kind of making an ass of herself. She's starting to get drunk and yelling at the comic, and the guy is not doing anything about it. Like, he's afraid to do something about it. Isn't that weird? Like, if my girl is just yelling at the comic, like, number one, I'd be like, stop, baby, stop. We're watching a show. Take it easy, right? And then if she's like, then I'd take her out of there. Now, believe me, I've gotten hammered, but I'm not a guy that heckles comedians. And maybe because I perform on stage from time to time, so maybe I understand that it's a show and they're trying to put on a show. And I'm there to watch the show. I'm there to have a good time. But when do you become that guy? When your wife or girlfriend starts pulling the strings. When does that happen? When does that happen? When they start taking away your wife starts to take away your stuff? When does that happen? You know what I mean? And is that a good life to live? Is that good? I'm not saying you have to get in an argument, and I'm not saying you don't compromise. But you definitely got to put your foot down and be like, hey, you know, like throughout life, we've always had that friend. It's like, I'm like, hey, Johnny, I'm just making up a name. Hey, Johnny, hey, we're gonna go up to the pool hall and have a couple beers and then they'll be like, well, let me ask the wife. Now, again, I get it. If you got kids, you're like, let me see if the kids are handled. I get that. But it's like, hey, let me ask the wife if she'll let me. What? Let me ask the wife if she'll let me? That's insane to me. Isn't that wild? That's a wild move, man. That's weird, even to say it out loud. Let me ask if she'll let me. And I think some people always kind of, and I also think maybe it's an excuse to say, I don't want to go. But, I mean, I do that. They'd be like, hey, Ian, you want to go? And I go, nah, I'm good. All right. You know what I mean? 'Cause I guess when you're in your 20s or something, your friends are like, you pussy. Come on. What do you got to work? Yeah, actually. But, when do you become that guy that's the wife or the girlfriend tells you if you can and can't go somewhere? That's weird. Now, if you're skipping out on responsibility like kids or you whatever, I understand. You said you had to go over to your wife's parents' house. You already said you would go. Okay, I get that. But if it's like, hey, let me ask if I can. Wait, what? What does that mean for a grown man? Let me ask if I can. That's very, very weird to me. I've never understood that. But, who knows? I also don't have kids, But I'm not even saying about kids. Kid, that's a whole other world. You say your kid needs me? Oh, believe me, no problem. Of course. Be there for your kid. Nothing better than a good father. But it is odd, It is very odd. I used to I played in bands my whole life, and I used to play in this band, and the drummer of this band would have to ask his wife if he can show up to practice or show up to shows or show up to anything. And I think that's so crazy to me. That's so crazy. I don't understand. And what I don't understand, if you did really want to do it, because it's fun. It's fun to play in a band. It's fun. And if you didn't want to play in a band, why do you do it, right? But it's so weird to me to allow, and I understand too, I've heard this too, it's like, I just don't want the fight. I don't want the argument. But man, that seems unfulfilling. You got to get rid of her. You got to get rid of her. If she's telling you not to do something that you want to do, I think that's insane to me. Because I would never do that to my girl. If she's passionate about something, now if she's skipping out on responsibilities, then of course you got to say something. But if your responsibilities are handled, and you want to go shoot pool at Hard Times over there, and she's like, no. What do you mean no? That would be insane. Like, I've never heard in my whole life. Every girlfriend I've ever had has never, ever in life said, no, you can't go. That's insane to me. That's so weird to me to just say, no, you can't go. Now, again, I'm going to say it again. We don't have kids. So I would understand if you're like, no, man, you got to, we're watching the kid or whatever. But if you're just like, she don't want to let me go because she wants me here around the house or apartment where I'm stuck in this apartment, like back when I played in that band where the drummer, they lived in a shitty apartment. And I remember one time he was like, I can't make it. My girl just made dinner. I was like, what? That's insane to me. I can't make it to the studio because your wife just made dinner. I don't get it. Now, is it an excuse? Did you not want to show up? Because if it's an excuse that you didn't want to show up, all right. But man, that's funny. It's funny to me. Like holy shit. And what that always seems is like you don't have any good Maybe that's not true. But I was going to say, maybe you don't have any good friends that are like, dude, what are you doing? But I stopped doing that anyways. I stopped kind of trying to tell my friends like, hey, you're whipped. You're very whipped by your girl, man, and it's taking over your life. I stopped doing that because it backfires. It backfires on me because they'll start lying to you. They'll start lying to you and making up things, and because they don't really want to tell you the truth, it's like, hey, well, I have to do this with my wife. So I'm all for it. It is what it is, because I think if you really wanted to show up somewhere or do something that you enjoyed, you would do it. But I know that it always you regret that later on in life. I know that, but it's still just a weird thing. Like if my girl was like, no, you can't go, I would be like, that's insane that you just said that. That's just crazy. No, you can't go shoot pool with your friends. That would be the craziest thing I ever heard in my life. But it happens. It happens all the time. And I say almost vice versa too, where it's like, or your girlfriend's like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. And the guy's like, no. What do you mean no? It's crazy. What that shows a lot of insecurity to me was what that shows. Now, now there's something to another side to that. If when you go out every time you get annihilated and come home and you're a problem, like I was the other night, if you get annihilated and you're a problem, well then she's really not saying no, you can't go out with your friends. She's saying no, you can't be hammered and come home and be a problem and start a fight over the news or whatever you're starting a fight over. The other day, man, I was having a bad day. It was a very series of negativity, just a series of bad news, just bad news all the way around. And I proceeded to get hammered. I got hammered, and I flipped out. Now, I didn't flip out. I wasn't angry at anybody. I kind of, I was in the studio, and I lost it, man. I lost my shit. I was getting frustrated. I was also drunk. It snuck up on me. I did everything wrong. I was mixing whiskey with vodka, with beer. I didn't eat anything. I was just down in whatever. And sometimes, and you go, well, Ian, that's a Ian problem, because people buy me drinks sometimes. Somebody will, and I never say no, which is not good. But I decided to hit the pub, and the bartender wanted to buy me a drink. She was very kind, and I obliged. I said, let's do it. And actually, it wasn't like I'll buy you a drink. She was sliding down drinks, and it was vodka shots, and I just took it. But I was drinking. I was already mixing anyways. But bad news, vodka, whiskey, Guinness. I was mixing, not good. And I was drunk over here, and I came home, and I got some bad news at the house. Then I went off to the studio, with my brother and my girl. We were going to work on some tunes, and I was having a hard time working things, because I was drunk, and I flipped. Man. I flipped, and it was just, I think it was like a series of emotions went flying out. It's wild. It was a wild one, but I know where it all came from. Just a series of emotions, and I guess when you had that mixture, I almost get what you girls deal with. When you're at the club and you had too much to drink, and you guys start crying over nothing. That was me. I was losing it. So I started punching my gear and throwing shit, having a real tantrum. Real temper tantrum, like a child, So I definitely had to apologize to everybody. I was like, sorry about that one, guys. Jeez. I wasn't mean to any person, but I was like, sorry about that, guys. And I was just like, I had a series of emotions that came straight to the forefront right at that moment. And boom. Luckily, see, I'm an adult now. I remember in my head as the emotions are happening, as I'm smashing some of my gear, I still stopped myself. I still stopped myself from hitting anything worth too much money. Yeah. So, but I'm a little embarrassed by the reaction, but I know where it came from. And I also, again, too much, it wasn't the too much booze, it was the mixing on an empty stomach. I mixed on an empty stomach. So, don't do that. Maybe I'll name the podcast that, Mixing on an Empty Stomach. It's wild. But as you can see, I'm solo here today, guys. Justin couldn't make it. Yeah, I mean that's okay. I talk to myself anyways. But yeah, it was a wild night, and I was hungover like crazy yesterday. Oh boy, when's the last time you had that hangover? That whole I'm never drinking again hangover. And interestingly enough, I'm not drinking. I'm drinking water right now. Usually on every podcast, I'm having a whiskey. But yeah, coming back to it, it's an odd one. And there's a quote that says, most men live life in quiet desperation, which is very true. And sometimes you feel it too, because sometimes the loudest ones are the dumbest ones, and the quiet ones are kind of the strongest. So sometimes they don't get to get it out, But I do like that quote. I'm going to say it again. Most men live lives in quiet desperation. I love quotes. I got a giant book of quotes over there. I rarely say it because sometimes they're very pretentious. But I believe it's very necessary these days. That's why these podcasts are nice, and writing is nice. You got to get your emotions out some way. Sports, boxing, music. Whatever, however you get your emotions out. Like it's you guys, it's some of you that aren't able to get your emotions out. I think maybe even sometimes video games get your emotions out. But I think a lot of that is a problem. I don't care how strong you are, when you push a lot of emotions down like I do, sometimes you got to let it out some way, So I think that's a good way to end the cast today. I think we did it. I think we're good. I think we're good to go. What do y'all think? Anyways, till next time, Go Riot's going to be over at in Hollywood on St. Patty's Day, so look that up. And I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.